for our Olympic referees who are here today. So would you please give them another round of applause. We're going to welcome on, first of all, Robbie Barnett, Eddie Krause, John Holden, Ray Hunt and Bill Woodhall. Gentlemen, pop up the front here. We've got some chairs. Musical chairs as they sort themselves out. I think what we might do is head down here. We'll work fathers to parents. Billy hates the microphone, we know that. Actually, I'm not sure if anyone saw when they came in today, but up on the screen has been some vision and some games back in the formative years of the NBL. And what I noticed, it looked like a game out at Albert Park, and the crowd was really encroaching in on the court. They were literally 1 or 2 feet from the court, and it was down in the bottom corner of the court. Ball must have, I don't know, gone out of play, or there was some sort of call, and the crowd's right there on the sidelines, and the referee, I'm not sure who it was, probably one of you 5 gentlemen, comes into the player, pushing the crowd back, the player so the player can pass the ball in. And as the referee is pushing the crowd back, trying to create some space, there's a gentleman that's obviously come from the bar holding 2 beers, and instead of walking along the sideline or just asking for a bit of space, just straight round the referee, halfway onto the court, and off they go. I thought that was good vision, and shows not to get in the referee's way when they're conducting their business. Anyway, we'll get underway. Some questions, and we'll get each of you to answer these questions. So we'll pass the microphone down the line, but we'll start with you, Billy. Obviously, memorable experience that a referee must have at an Olympic Games, both on and off the court. Most memorable experience for you in your involvement in the Olympic Games? If it is an on-court experience, can you also make sure you add an off-court experience as well? So something on and something off from your experience with the Olympic Games, Bill.
Actually, there's quite a number that I could probably refer to, but I guess one of the, and a lot of you have probably heard these stories before, but one of my most memorable experiences was in fact not actually during the Games or anything. It was at the Sydney Olympics, and on each particular day they were recognising the athletes who had been to previous Olympics, and so we were invited upstairs to a VIP room and so on. In that VIP room there was just free alcohol, so everyone, all the players sort of got together and had a pretty good time. I was up in the VIP room, and I decided to go across from the VIP room. You had to walk across another section to get to I think it was the athletics, whatever it was anyway. So I'm walking across in this foyer, and at the same time the swimming was on, and I stopped at a screen to watch the swimming, and that Peter Van Hoogen, or whatever his name was, he just won his race, and he got out of the swimming pool, and I had the most fantastic body you've ever seen. It was this really ripped body. And I'm standing next to a guy in a suit, and he was sort of quite solid. And so I sort of, just jokingly said to him, and I whacked him on the suit. Said, "Jesus, just reminds of you and I, doesn't it? That big bloke." Next minute, 3 guys came along with earpieces and all this sort of stuff, and they ushered me away. I said, "Oh, what's the problem? What's the matter?" That was the president of Oman. I've just punched him in the stomach. So that was pretty memorable. And then my other experience, lucky enough to go to Barcelona to the Olympics where the Dream Team were for the very first time. And this is, I'm sure these people have heard this story, but there was an incident. I was refereeing with a Chinese referee by the name of Zhu, and he couldn't speak English. So, but Zhu tried to speak English. He sort of, and I'd been away on tournaments previously with him. And one stage he actually tried to explain to a player. So the guy got shot. got fouled after he'd taken his shot. And so Zoo was trying to explain to him and said, oh, you got shot afternoon rather than after the shot. And so the guys looked at him, what are you talking about? So I had the dream team game with Zoo. And we're in the room before the game and you sort of try and talk to the referee. It's much more professional now, but in those days it was fairly casual and sort of say, oh, the most important thing is we don't want to call both of us blowing our whistle at the same time and one calling a foul on one person and one calling a foul on the other. So I'm saying to Zoo, no, we don't want that to happen. And Bill's he's sitting there going, I don't understand what I know what I'm saying. So we had a blackboard, so I drew on the blackboard and I said, oh, okay, the ball is here, Bill here, Zoo here. So if the play comes towards Bill, Bill make the call, play comes towards Zoo, Zoo. He goes, Bill, 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 Bill. Zoo not here, Zoo here. So this is really helpful to my partner Zoo. So then the guy, normally in the Olympics they don't come and tell you too much to how to referee. So the guy came in before the game and he said, the guy in charge, and he said, had you watched the game previously with the dream team? Charles Barkley had been hanging on the ring. And he said, I want you to take down there. I went, oh, that's great. Yeah, so in Australians are going to go out in front of 10 million people and take Charles Barkley. So I look across at Zoo and I'm like, oh, Zoo, Zoo. He's got no idea. So we get out in the corner. I thought the smart thing to do would be to go and talk to the coach prior to the game and just give him a warning, tell him to have a word to Barkley. And this is true. Chuck Daly has now passed away. I went up to him and I said, look, I've been instructed to take phone if he hangs on the ring, do you mind just giving him a warning? He turned to me and I promise you, he said, throw the mother out of here, we don't want him anyway. Like, great, that's really helpful. So they couldn't control him either. And then I'm playing the Aussie that's to go and try and control. So lo and behold, the game goes on and something, he must have noticed, I don't know, but he dunked the ball and at the time I didn't think he actually hung on the ring for very long, but at the same time they requested a timeout. So I've given the signal to stop and a timeout signal, which is one finger, and a tech foul, you know, is your hand.
Which hand though?
Yeah, well, this one. So that's the actually it wasn't. I really didn't understand. So he thought that I've called a technical foul on him, but all I was doing was calling a timeout. So now he's come across over to me and he has given me the biggest mouthful you have ever heard. So many swear words I didn't even think anyone could ever say in that period of time. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, no, it's not a tech foul, I'm just time out. However, what you're saying to me now, you in fact could be technical foul. And so, and I said, look, in the future, just be careful, don't hang on the ring. So anyway, the game progressed and the next time down I've got this little bit of footage where he actually comes down in the second half and dunks it, and then he looks across at me and I'm going, yeah, good on you, yeah. So we went up and down the court. So they are my two experiences, I guess, that I can do.
That's great. Actually, while you were saying that, I was thinking somewhere in China or again, I wonder if Zoo's out in front of a crowd talking about Billy Mills from Australia. So
You're still trying to learn English.
that's right. Let's have a chat with Ray, shall we? Ray, some on and off court experiences.
88 in Seoul was a fantastic experience for me. I think my first game was USA versus Spain, which was a replay of the gold medal game 4 years previous, and I was refereeing with a guy I'd refereed before at the World Championships, Costas Rivas. So I was a bit the same Costas Rivas, and so I knew how he refereed, and we were refereeing two-man, and I knew what to expect, and we had a good pre-game at the time, so it was really good. But I remember coming out onto the floor, and the stadium of Seoul was jam-packed, 17,000 people. And not many of the Koreans liked the US, so they were all barracking for Spain, but I remember running up and down for the first 5 minutes, and I nearly hyperventilated. I was just in awe of the players running up and down, and I was running up and down beside them, and it wasn't until I got an out-of-bounds call about 5 minutes into the game that I actually started to settle down and started to referee as I normally referee, but it was just an awesome experience. Probably a couple of the off-court in Korea was pretty good. it was probably the pre-technological age where a kangaroo, Australian kangaroo pin could get you into anywhere. So, you know, we took a shitload of kangaroo pins and we've been to a lot of places, and the athletics was right beside us, and we used to wander across the athletics and either turn our accreditation over, so we just walked through the athletes entrance, and we walked in. I was with Jeff Weeks, good mate. We walked into the athletics this day, and we walked into the athletes entrance, and we went to turn left, and the official said, no, turn right. Okay, sorry. So we turned right, and when we turn right, there's nobody sitting in this area. So we thought, oh, we'll go and sit right down the front. So we go and sit down right down the front. We have a look, and then Ben Johnson walks past. All the athletes walk past for the semi-final of the 100-metre athletics. We're going, well, gee, this is pretty good. We look behind us, and 6 rows behind us is Samaranch, the Olympic president. We were in the VIP area, and so it was pretty good. We saw the gold medal run of Melinda Gainsford-Smith when she won the gold in record time and just got home. The other experience, I think, a sort of semi-basketball experience was the warm-up game to the 2000 Olympics. Australia playing the US at Rod Laver. My best mate, refereeing together. Pre-game, huge pre-game. Don't muck up, let them play, no fights. Great idea. Minute 30 of the game, got a fight. 2 minutes 15 of the game, Bill falls over, smashes his elbow. No, he actually didn't fall over. Carter ran through him, knocked him over, smashed his elbow. And we got one referee, we had to get Karen Gillespie out of the crowd. Noel Cooper killed 15 people trying to get out of the stand to referee. The only thing he had 15 bourbons that probably stopped him, but anyway, Caroline Gillespie stepped in and did a fantastic job in an unusual circumstance. She just refereed the women's game prior to that, and she stepped in and did a fantastic job. But Billy was going to the Olympics only about 7-10 days later, and you know, there's a fair chance he wasn't going to make it. I was next in line, so I saw the surgeon. I paid him a lot of money. Said, you need to have him in hospital for at least 3 weeks. So I go to visit Billy in hospital, so I've been discharged. So I blew my money, blew my next Olympic chance.
This is exactly what happened. This wuss here, Andrew Gaze takes a shot. You know, for those people who followed Andrew Gaze's career and whatever.
Replay's fantastic.
And he has, and now we've been able to refer to it on replay and whatever. Andrew takes a shot, and as Andrew ever can do, makes out that he actually gets fouled, but in fact what he does is grabs hold of Vince Carter and pulls him down to the ground as well. So
Played it 15 times.
they fall to the floor. He has called it foul on Vince Carter. He hasn't even called it on Andrew Gaze. So then this is all in brawl, or they start to sort of have push and shove and altercation. And then our little friend Shane Hill then just makes sure that this becomes a fight. So he comes in and starts pushing and shoving and carrying on. And this bloke standing back saying gets away with it totally free. So now the play goes up and down the floor a little bit more. Vince Carter is obviously pretty angry. And next minute he bumps into me, thinks I'm a player, lifts me up the floor and throws me on the ground. Like, just, now I understand that he had actually paid him as well.
There's an IOU somewhere there. Robbie Barnett's with us. On and off the court, the Olympic experience for you.
I refereed at the 96 Atlanta Olympics, and like Bill, I was very fortunate. I refereed the Dream Team. It was the replay of the gold medal game from '92, which was the US versus Croatia. Atlanta, the games were played. The basketball was a premier event of the Olympics, and the games were being played at the home of the of the Atlanta Falcons. So it was a football stadium, and the crowd, there was about 40,000 people at the game. It was a reasonable crowd, a couple hundred million on TV. It was good. Yeah, it was pretty tight. And a bit like Ray said, I think ball got tossed, and I was on a fast break with Shaq O'Neal. As Shaq blew past me, and we started off at the centre line. He got to the free throw. He got to the free throw line and dunked it. I was still 2 steps off the centre line. I figured I've got some problems. I wasn't as quick as these guys. Probably not as fit. And we were calling for a timeout pretty soon after. So it was really exciting to be involved with the Dream Team. They were fantastic. My off-court, I think I roomed with Sue. I think he came and he refereed. I think they gave him the game on the first day and ascertained that he wasn't that good. He wasn't very good. So he spent the next 13 days watching porno movies. It's a room, two to a room. And I'd come home most nights and he's watching the pornos. It wasn't good. My other experience was when you go to the Olympics, each night I guess most of the guys will know that the appointments come out for the next day about 8 o'clock. And normally they're slipped under the door of your room and that you find out what's going on for the next day. And I was staying in the Olympic Village with the officials, and I got pretty friendly with the boxing guys because they were a good bunch of guys. Most people know boxing is kind of a bit of an interesting amateur sport. Not much of it above board, and it's questionable whether the officials are involved. Who knows? And it was very interesting. We'd be eating dinner near 8 o'clock, and the boxing guys would all they're off. They'd leave the dining room, off to their rooms. And we're the basketball guys, we'd sit there and go, oh, well, we'll get the envelope with our job for the next day. Who cares? It'll be fine. And so I started questioning the boxing guys, what's going on? Why do you have to be in your room to get the envelope under the door? So as the envelope came under the door, they'd be on the other side of the door pulling it in. And the guy said to me, well, boxing, he's showing me his rings and his watches, and these guys seem to have a lot of money. He said, when the appointments come out, sometimes there are many presentos. What do you mean? He said, well, in the envelope, there's more than just the letter.
Wow. All I can think about too when you're talking about Zoo back in the room is I hope he wasn't using your credit card. But John Holmes with us. John, off the court, mate.
Well, for me it started in, I think which one it was now.
Which one do you want to talk about, Jim?
Sorry, yeah. Munich, yeah, that was quite an experience being there for my first Olympics and recognising that the people of Germany were making such a fantastic effort to get this show off the road. And of course we know what happened there was a disaster in the way with the shootings and everything like that went on. But for me as a referee it was really good. I was fortunate enough to get the first game with a fellow Canadian, a fellow by the name of Jim Bean, as it turned out to be. And doing that first one, I think it gave me a chance to get things going for me personally, because I was pretty toey, I was pretty nervous. So things went along all right there, and venturing from one games to the next game where we had a particular referee who would want to referee as that he would take charge. He happened to be from Uruguay, as I remember. And it was a matter, if you called the foul, he was in the trail, he might have been right underneath the basket, but he was going to be at the bench. He was going to be at the bench. So I had to make sure that at half time I got an interpreter in there with us to sort of say, hey, wait a minute, if you don't call anything here, don't get involved, keep out of it. So it didn't matter. He was just that way that it was always going to happen in that manner. So anyhow, we got through the game without too many problems. With Uruguay in, I think it was in 76, 74, 76. But they were pretty powerful and a pretty strong team, and they were pretty strong off the court as well. Because for me personally, being the referee in that particular game, I was the bad boy from down under. Who is this shit we got on this game? They were running up and down to the score table to get every foul that I called, because I happened to call the first one a normal shooting foul. The shooter's arms got whacked by a Uruguayan player, and bang, I called the foul. Well, after that, I was in the game. I was really in the game. It was that bad that after the game that I had to have an escort out of the stadium via tunnels, would you believe? Via tunnels. That's a fact. So you can see that there's times when we're really put under pressure out on the court. But there's been some terrific experiences for me in the way of close games. I can remember in Montreal, Italy playing Yugoslavia. It turned out to be a 1-point game. Italy's about 21 points up from memory at half time, and the Yugoslavs come up and win by a point in the second half. Unfortunately, my partner went walkabout, so I was left alone, for want of better words. So I was really the bad boy, you know, particularly with the Italians. But nevertheless, I got a free telephone book out on the court. I got a pair of shoes got thrown out on the court. I didn't have time to collect them, because the next thing I knew that the police were there to help me to get over to the score table. But an occurrence with a bit of laughter attached to it prior to all this was leading up to a game, I think from memory it was the World University Championships, and they were being played at the Melbourne at the time. And you can imagine with the university teams and stuff like that, there was plenty of drinking and carrying on and everything. Well, you've said that. But anyhow, there was one thing I got a very special award out of that game that I'm really proud of. And people who like to look at it, they'll see it down there on the table. It happens to be a mounted mouth guard. The mouth guard, I believe, was thrown from one end of the court to the other. It missed me, and I said to my partner at the time, he said, I think that was meant for you. So it turned out to be all involving a technical foul. So they decided to say, hey, wait a minute, a mouth guard has never ever travelled that distance. So it was mounted, and I keep that as a memento today.
Fantastic. I was going to say, you know you're in for a rough night out on the basketball court when people are taking telephone books. Eddie Crouch is with us. Eddie, the Olympic experience on and off the court, mate.
Oh, look, I want to start by acknowledging the bloke on the right. I think he's probably one of the greatest officials Australia's seen. He refereed at 3 Olympics, which is absolutely awesome. Sorry, 4. My apologies, John. I forgot about that. I was actually supposed to be going to Moscow with John, but unfortunately the women didn't go because of the boycott, so it was one of the disappointments for me. But I was fortunate enough to officiate with John at the LA Olympics, and it wasn't the best Olympics as far as seeing other sports. In fact, we didn't see any other sports. We were stuck at the Forum and stuck at one end of the runway at the LA airport, so you can imagine